Good morning, good afternoon and good evening everyone, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to be showing you the top 6 ways that you can ensure that you always have way too much influence, so much so that you don't actually know what to spend it all on. We will be covering perks, policies, armies, fights, buildings and troops, and how you can use all 6 of these things in varying ways to give you a never-ending supply of influence. Both quick boosts to your influence count and also steady things that will make sure you never run out. For anyone returning to the videos, firstly I'd just like to say welcome back and thank you. I really hope these guides help out. If they do, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps out tremendously. And if it's your first time here, enjoy the guide. And at the end of the video, if it's been helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps out and thank you all so much. Now, let's get into tip number 1, donating troops to garrisons. There is a few ways you can implement this tip. If you have just taken over a town and you're fairly sure that it will be given to you, this may require a reload just in case, just to double check. What you want to do is just go to the keep, donate the troops, and pump every single troop into that keep. You will get a tremendous amount of free influence, and then when you inevitably get given that town anyway, all of them troops will get given straight back to you. You have essentially just earned yourself a couple of 100 points worth of free influence. And then when you've got more influence than you could possibly know what to do with, and your kingdom decide that they want to make peace with another kingdom that you are clearly about to destroy, you can go in and you will have enough influence to go against every other lord in your kingdom and say no. And now you can continue fighting. Now that cost us a lot of influence. So as I said, there are 2 ways that you can use the donating troops to garrisons to give you a really big boost of influence. One way is a new town or castle that you've just been given. That way it's free troops. You get all the troops back. Another way to do it would be to drop off any of the troops that you care about into a town or city you already manage and own. And then you just want to grab all of the troops that you don't really care about that much from your garrison. I'm just sticking to anything tier 2 or below that isn't a royal troop. Perfect. We'll now go around and fill up our party with rubbish troops. And this is a technique for you for if you have way more money than influence and you really need a big hit of influence quite quickly. So here we are valuing our 700 influence way more than our million dinars. We're just buying up all the troops in surrounding villages, and then we'll go to the nearest allied town and we will sell every single one of these troops to the keep because we care about very few of them. Obviously make sure you upgrade them first if you have any upgrades available. This will yield slightly more influence than the upgraded counterparts, and then sell them all to the garrison. There is a free 70 influence. I can now go back to my town of Dunglanis and get all of my troops back out of the garrison. We now have a full army of awesome troops. We've sold all of the rubbish ones that we don't want anymore, and in doing so we gained another 100 influence. And as long as you've got money, you can rinse and repeat that as many times as you want. So that's the 2 ways that you can use donating troops to garrisons to yield you influence. The next thing we will look at is perks. There are many perks in the skill tree that can help to give you influence boosts, namely in the charm, trade and steward trees. Let's take a look at them all now. Now, as far as I'm aware, there are 11 perks in total that will increase your influence for doing various things. We'll start off in the charm tree at 125 charm with champion. I actually took respectful opposition for this playthrough, as influence isn't really a problem for me, as you can see. However, if you are struggling with influence and you do a lot of tournaments, this one is perfect. As opposed to the normal, I believe 3 influence it is that you get from winning a tournament, you will quadruple that and earn an extra 10 by taking the champion perk. Also in the charm tree at 175, you'll have a choice between whether you gain 20% more influence through personal actions or your clan member parties gain 10% more influence. Obviously, always look out for number 1. Go for Glorious Leader. Now, once you hit 225 charm, you can get a straight up once per day +5 loyalty bonus every time you visit a settlement that you own. This is fantastic. I would honestly probably grab this one. Or, again, if you're struggling with influence, gain +1 influence per day for each allied lord party that are not currently in an army whilst waiting in a town. This can seriously rack up if there are many allied lord parties not currently in armies. And finally, right at the end of the charm tree, if you do happen to have an insane amount of charm and you've pumped all of your attribute points into social, then for every 5 skill points after 250, you will gain an extra +1 influence point a day every single day. So as soon as you unlock this at 275, it is straight up giving you an extra 5 influence a day off the bat. That is insane. Next, we will move into the leadership tree. There is just one skill in here, I believe at 175. This is the one, Inspiring Leader. 20% less influence needed to call parties to an army. Obviously, this isn't an increase to influence, but it is a decrease to the influence that you spend, which is always nice. And then the final tree that can help us out, of course, is Steward. Going back to one of my previous tips, if you had taken relocation at 150 Steward, then your influence gain from donating troops to garrisons would be increased by a further 25%. This one is fantastic. Now we will move on to winning fights. I have already covered this quite in depth on my renown guide, and the exact same thing applies for influence. So I'll leave my renown guide now up on the top right hand corner of this video and also down in the description. And rather than fighting the battle out, I will just very quickly show you, if you fight a big battle, you get lots of influence. Pretty much as simple as that. Certain things like how outnumbered you are also affect the influence gain. There are also certain points that will increase it. However, this is discussed in much more depth over on the renown guide. And as I say, the exact same methodology also applies to your influence. This brings me on to my next tip of feeding starving armies. For every lord in your army that has ran out of food, you will use a portion of your food to feed them. And depending on how big their army is and how much food you have, you will earn influence points as a thank you. So what you want to do is stock up on thousands worth of food and then invite a lot of lords into your army and just run around until they run out of food. And then you will find you start getting 10, 20, 30 influence a day on top of your passive just because they're all starving. It's a fantastic way to earn steady big amounts of influence. Now we'll just continue to roam around for a few days and I'll show you exactly what I mean when our armies start to run out of food. And here we go. All of the other armies have now pretty much entirely run out of food, yet I still have enough food to feed them for over 3 weeks. So in any second now we will start seeing that I'm getting small amounts of influence down here for feeding our armies. That shared food with starving soldiers gained 3 influence. 3 influence just like that. That's just for one army. If we start getting 3 influence a day for every single one of these armies, it is going to really start racking up. So we'll wait here for just another minute or two so I can show you seriously how much free influence feeding starving armies can give you. There's 0.8. There's another 0.8, there's another 6.6, another 0.8. Within the last few seconds, we just got 10 free influence, and it will just keep ramping up now because they have completely ran out of food. 1.2, 1.2, 8.8, another 0.8, and you just snowball. The amount of free influence we are now getting because they've ran out of food is absolutely insane. Another one. Just obviously try and make sure that when you do disband the army, they have all ran out of food now. They will start starving if they are no longer with you. So try and disband the army near or at a town, and hopefully they won't start starving instantly. Or they will, because it turns out they really want to fight. There we go. And that brings me on to tip number 5 for this video, which will be a very quick one, and that is forums. There is a building, I believe it's only in towns, called forums. Here it is. Tier 1 gives you 0.5 bonus to influence. Tier 2, 1 bonus. Tier 3, 1.5. If you have 3 towns, all with this at Tier 3, that's an extra 4.5 influence you're getting a day for free, just for having this building in your town. As you can see, I am currently getting +6 from settlement buildings, because I have 4 Tier 3 forums in my towns. Now, the final thing you want to do to absolutely maximize that influence is policies. Obviously, for this, you need to be part of a kingdom. Ideally, you will be the king, because it's going to be much easier for you to determine and dictate the policies. Pro tip for you here, when you're starting out a kingdom for the first time, you can have 4 of these 8 policies for free, as you can pick up to 4 policies to enact as you're creating your kingdom free of charge. So let's buy some of these Vandian Knights and then we will jump into the policy screen. I don't have all 8 policies that I'm going to recommend here, but we'll go through them all regardless. So the first one, straight away, practically no downside, because you very, very rarely need to revoke a fief from a clan. Feudal inheritance, 0.1 influence for every single fief you own, and villages do count as fiefs. So if you have a town that happens to have 4 connected villages, you're getting an extra half an influence a day from this perk. As you can see, feudal inheritance is currently giving me 1.9 influence a day. Next, and this will only apply if you're tier 5 or above, is the Lord's Privy Council, giving you an extra half an influence a day just for being you. Third on my list is Sacred Majesty, which will only apply if you are king. Obviously, if you're not king, don't use this one. It is actually detrimental to your kingdom. Very similarly to Lord's Privy Council, the next one that you want is Senate. This is even better because you only need to be tier 3 to apply this one. Fourth on my list is Bailiffs. This will give you 1 extra influence per town per day, as long as that town's security is greater than 60. As you can see, Bailiffs is currently giving me +4, as all 4 of my fiefs are above 60 security. Next, you want law speakers, but only if you have high charm. What's a high charm, you ask? Anything over 100. So as soon as you have over 100 charm skill, get law speakers. And now for the couple I don't have that you want to consider if you really want to maximize the influence. Serfdom can be quite good. Villages grant 0.2 influence per day to the owner clan. Towns will gain 1 security but lose 1 militia and 1 prosperity. And finally, we have Council of Commons. Each notable yields 0.1 influence per day to the settlement's owner clan. However, tax from fortifications is decreased by 5%. With all of them 8 enabled, as long as you tick all of the checkboxes, you will be getting crazy amounts of influence per day, just like I am. Why are there desert bandits in the snow? Incredible. They are my 6 top tips for increasing your influence and keeping it in them very high levels. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and do all that good stuff to help the algorithm. It's always appreciated. That is it from me. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learnt stuff. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.